Hello YouTube, Reddit Math here, and welcome back to the title screen of Darkest Dungeon. This is going to be the first episode of Season 2 of Let's Roleplay the Darkest Dungeon. If you're new around here and wondering what that means exactly, we're going to be trying to focus on the unfolding stories that we could tell with our own estate. There will be links in the description and sort of a fleshed out story going on down there. Those links will be timestamps throughout the video. If you're interested in just kind of getting caught up on what's going on or a highlight reel of pivotal moments in the story, feel free to click through those. If you just want to watch the entire video, sometimes there are going to be spoilers down there, so you might end up avoiding those a little bit, but they're a fun read, and I enjoy making them, and I hope you enjoy that they're being made. This Season 2 is going to be a little bit different in a couple of ways. One of them, as we click to start our new campaign, is we're going to be beginning here in New Game Plus, which is something that was unlocked after beating the original game. I'm interested to see what the tougher enemies entail. The fail state doesn't super excite me, but I'm interested to kind of compare and contrast some things going on there. So we're going to go ahead and do that. As you can see, we get a cool little red skull next to our estate name, and no other name would make any sense except for the red estate. So I'm also going to be focusing in this series a little bit more on tutorializing some of the mechanics in the game. A lot of people throughout the previous runs asked for more guides and walkthroughs and explanations of how things were happening. And I'd always sort of shied away from them because the game was in early access and a lot of those mechanics were changing dramatically. You know, if I had given tips on how to best fight in the game and then corpses got introduced, that would have been real silly and led to a lot of really obsolete information. You can go back about a year and find videos on YouTube about the Darkest Dungeon final boss fight that have nothing to do with fighting the ancestor, because that was at the time the final boss. You know, they're fighting the swine god or something. So now that the game is in a more or less complete state, I feel a little bit more comfortable doing that, as the videos, for the sake of posterity, will still remain accurate. Now, I also have not watched the opening cutscene in quite some time, and so I'm going to do that now. I kind of get interested in what it'll mean to go back through some of the story points now that I have seen the ending and have an overall grasp of how the story arc in the Darkest Dungeon goes. So let's go ahead and find out what waits for us along the old road.
You will arrive along the old road. It winds with a troubling, serpent-like suggestion through the corrupted countryside, leading only, I fear, to ever more tenebrous places. There is a sickness in the ancient, pitted cobbles of the old road, and on its writhing path, you will face viciousness, violence, and perhaps other damnably transcendent terrors. So steel yourself, and remember, there can be no bravery without madness. The old road will take you to hell, but in that gaping abyss, we will find our redemption.
And I think there is perhaps the first of those story points, the Transcendent terrors and the ghostly apparition. We saw him at the end of the game as well. And that, I think, to me, reiterates the idea that we are just kind of in some sort of cyclic thing. You know, that a eldritch abomination like this cannot truly be destroyed, and perhaps the energy of doing so, you know, just kind of reset everything. let's go ahead and pop in here. No narration? Nope. Okay. So we're going to get quite a few of these tutorial pop-ups in the beginning. If you're a first-time player, I think these are super important and you should definitely read them. Some of them may be like, oh yeah, it's super obvious, I don't need this stuff. But there are going to be some tips in here, especially once we make it to the estate, that are going to be super important. So as we close this, it's basically just telling us that in order to progress, we can click here to move to this room, and it will do so. But before we do that, I want to talk just a little bit about some of the mechanics in the game. Darkest Dungeon is a game with kind of two health bars, right? You've got your typical hit points and then a stress meter. And while high HP is good, high stress is bad. We'll see a little bit more of that, I'm sure, in this episode. But one of the things that greatly impacts that mechanic is the light level in the game. You've got to concern yourself with the dwindling torchlight. Now, with radiant light here, we're more likely to be surprising our enemies or getting scouts of the things to come ahead. But if I reduce this by holding shift and clicking, we're going to find that the scouting and monster surprise goes down and our stress goes up. So that's bad. And if we continue to do it, we're going to see that our stress goes up more, monster accuracy and damage goes up more. We're more likely to be surprised. But now we start getting more loot, and we are more likely to land critical strikes. I'm going to go ahead and take this all the way down. We'll get another tutorial pop up telling us that the light is fading. It's not really expecting you to get this right now, so it does instruct you here to use a torch from your inventory. We don't have any torches just yet. But I'm going to take this all the way down.
Terrors may indeed stalk these shadows, but yonder, a glint of gold.
And that's going to leave us gaining more stress. The monsters are more deadly. We're more likely to be surprised. But we get more crits. And the thing that I'm concerned about is we also get more loot. And I would like to get as much loot out of this initial little tutorial area as humanly possible.
Brigands have run up these lanes. Keep to the side path. The hamlet is just ahead.
Now, it's telling you that you can use the WASD keys, although S is never really used, in order to move back and forth. But also, the mouse is totally fine, and I can click here in order to walk. So, I'm going to go ahead and do that.
Dispatch this thug in brutal fashion, that all may hear of your arrival.
Alright, and we're being explained that, we need to kill this guy. But I also want to talk about the fact that I got surprised right there at the beginning, which reshuffled my party formation. Not really detrimental for just these two guys, but later on that could be real bad. And that's what the +3 hero surprise kind of leads you to. So, in order to fight in the game, you basically get a character's turn. You have 4 skills along the hotbar here. They've been pre-selected starting out, but later we'll be able to change those up. And on the skills themselves, you're going to see the 3 pips on the left and 2 pips on the right. And what those represent is the location that Dismas needs to be in order to use them, and the locations that he can hit enemies in on the other side. So for example, with Open Vein, if I'm in the first 3 positions, I can hit the first 2 positions of the enemy. You'll see I can't use Pistol Shot, Grape Shot Blast, or Tracking Shot. These 2 because I'm not in the right place to use them, and this one because there's no enemy in the corresponding place to have it used on. So my only option here is to Open Vein. And not only do we land the attack, we also inflict bleed on him. So he is going to be taking a little bit of damage every turn, 2 damage per turn for 2 more rounds. Nice. I also see in his returning assault, he inflicted a status effect on us that is reducing our bleed chance. It sort of synergizes well with his ability to try to make us bleed again in the future. But he's not going to get that much time.
Is broken. Maintain the offensive.
And we get a little bit of extra gold and jade for our trouble. I believe you would probably expect to get just flat 50 gold with max torchlight, so it's something. Now, remember that terror from earlier? Yeah, we're going to get the first tutorial about interactive objects or curios in the game that we can interact with in order to get loot and effects and all kinds of stuff. It's a very neat and varied sort of addition to the gameplay. Now, this is the Transcendent terror that we saw both in the opening cutscene and in the final cutscene. Surely nothing good can come of a dialogue with the dead. Now, he's right, and I know what happens here. This guy's only present in New Game Plus, and it's not a good idea to interact with him. In the normal version of the game, this would be, I believe, like a bandit's tent, and you should totally check it out. It can have some really cool stuff inside. But for me...
Leave nothing unchecked. There is much to be found in forgotten places.
All I find out is that time is an endless cycle, which has the unfortunate consequence of shattering Reynauld's mind just a little bit. It says here, when heroes can't take stress anymore, they can become afflicted. This manifests in different behaviors and stat changes. Afflictions last until you send them to treatment in the town, unless you can reduce their stress to 0 during the quest. If we close out of this, we see that Reynauld has become paranoid. All of the things right now that are red on my base stats and my resistances are being impacted by that. So I lost 10% from my max HP, doing a little bit less damage, and I'm less resistant to basically all of the things. So that's not very good. When we reach 100 stress, there's a chance to either become afflicted or virtuous. We became afflicted. That's unfortunate. That's especially going to be bad, not necessarily for this run, but for what's going to come as soon as we need to head out for the first time from the hamlet itself. All right, let's go ahead and head in here and see how
An ambush.
this...
Send these vermin a message. The rightful owner has returned, and their kind is no longer welcome.
We'll see how this ambush turns out for us. Now, we've got kind of like a big tanky character up front, the brigand Bloodletter, and his Fusilier friend in the back. I could try to attack the back guy. He does more damage than he has HP, meaning that he can be taken down quickly, but doing 4 to 8, I worry that it would take me 3 rounds to kill the guy, and in that time I can probably take down the Bloodletter by focusing on him with both characters. So I'm actually going to do that instead. He resisted the bleed, which is a little unfortunate, and pops off his point-blank shot, which at least slows him down in the future. Also, stun resist is at 50, and I've only got 100% base. That's a coin flip. So let's just stick to good old-fashioned damage for right now. Oh, very lovely.
Quakes.
And as long as I get this guy down in the 3rd round, I still feel like this was the correct choice to take. It would be really nice if I could get just enough damage that the bleed would kill him. That didn't happen, obviously. Yeah, unfortunate. And now we are both bleeding. Okay. So with 7, 3 to 5, let's try this. I would have loved for the 5. It did not happen. That made me sad. Oh well. Kind of regardless. Yeah, and stuff like that is also going to happen because he's paranoid. Kind of regardless of what I do, he's going to die and become
dissuade the sharpened blade.
A corpse. So when monsters die, they leave behind corpses. They act as temporary obstacles to our continued assault against the enemy. There's sort of a double-edged sword here, because they also mean that our
and despondence set the stage for heroism or cowardice.
Yeah, they also mean that our long-range characters are able to continue to use their long-range abilities for more of the fight, and as long as you're sort of structured well in your party, like, I think that could be just as big of an advantage as a disadvantage. Hopefully this is the last thing this guy does to us, because Dismas here is down to 1 HP.
Press this
Thank you.
Give them no quarter.
Alright, so with the light levels reduced, this bounty is a lot better than it otherwise would be. And that also is going to complete our quest. Now, with quest complete, you can either return to the hamlet now or continue adventuring. For us, we're going to continue adventuring and make another really dumb decision. If you happen to get a key from this battle, then opening this trapped chest with the use of the key could be a good idea. We don't have a key, and therefore it's right there on the 10, man. It's a trapped chest. That'll happen. And yeah, it actually tried to inflict another status effect on us, but Dismas was good enough to resist it. Thank you, Dismas. And with that, there's nothing more for us to be doing in here, so we're going to go ahead and quest complete and see our rewards for this fight. And we got 5,000 gold just for completing the quest. We also sold back all of the things that were in our inventory, giving us another 3,095. And we collected a handful of crests as heirlooms. So, all in all, not a bad haul. And we're also going to see with these two guys gaining 2 resolve experience points. They're going to both go from level 0 to level 1. Dismas also picks up a very good positive quirk. He is going to be faster and dodgier on his first round now that he is on guard. Reynauld, of course, is coming back from this paranoid. Stress has been reduced down to 100, but that's not going to just go away on its own. We've got to do something to get rid of it. So we're going to go ahead and head back into the hamlet. I'm going to show off probably just...
Welcome home, such as it is. This squalid hamlet, these corrupted lands, they are yours now, and you are bound to them.
All right. I'm going to let Wayne June interrupt me a lot during this playthrough, by the way, because, you know, his voice is a lot more pleasing to my ear than my own. So, as I was going to say, I'm going to complete the rest of sort of the tutorializing in the very beginning right here. Yeah, there's a pop-up to show us that you can press H to get a help menu at any time. We're also seeing the town interaction stuff. There's a lot of buildings that you can go to and do stuff to level up characters, buy equipment, that sort of thing. Right now, most of them have this complete more quest to unlock. We're still very much in a tutorial for the moment. But 3 of them have little exclamation points. If we pop into the Ancestors' Memoirs...
In time, you will know the tragic extent of my failings.
And this is where you can come to basically just get all the story points again. I'm assuming it's because it's New Game Plus, but I already have all this stuff unlocked at the moment, so I could just play these if I want. Everything except the epilogue and the Darkest Dungeon stuff itself. But otherwise, these would become unlocked by facing these bosses. I am very interested to see during this playthrough, like, how the ending sort of tints my view of those bosses and the story that's being revealed in them. Also, we get the graveyard.
Most will end up here, covered in the poisoned earth, awaiting merciful oblivion.
And because this is New Game Plus, you're going to see a death counter up here. 0 of 13 right now. If we hit 13, that's it. That's one of the fail conditions for the game. So we're going to try not to do that. But if you're playing for the first time, that won't be there. And characters can get murdered as often as you need them to continue progressing. Also, I just noticed our awesome estate symbol is super cool with the like affliction symbol in just bold radiant red over it. That's very neat. And last but certainly not least is the stagecoach.
Women and men, soldiers and outlaws, fools and corpses. All will find their way to us now that the road is clear.
And this could not be more correct. The stagecoach is your hero lifeblood. Now that the road is clear, we're going to be receiving our heroes through the stagecoach that are going to make up our parties. Now, this is one of those tutorial notes that people sometimes skim over, and it's got some super important details in it. So it's explaining, of course, that you can recruit heroes here, but while you're here, spend some of your starting resources upgrading the stagecoach network. It's right there emboldened in gold. That is going to be super critical. I'm actually just going to go ahead and do that now. The stagecoach network here requiring deeds and crests, and we started with 10 of each. We gained a few more due to that first expedition in the tutorial.
Word is traveling. Ambition is stirring in distant cities. We can use this.
And that's going to mean that next week, instead of having 2 heroes, we're going to have 3 here. And that is super critical to our continued existence. The classes that show up, the Plague Doctor and the Vestal, in the first week, these are totally locked in so that you get like a decent starting party. But in the future, they're just going to be completely randomized. So we're going to meet Pesh, our Seeker Plague Doctor.
What better laboratory than the blood-soaked battlefield?
As she is steady, so she receives less stress damage and does more damage in the cove, but is not allowed to gamble for stress reduction in the town. She also gets some of the Plague Doctor's better skills, in my opinion anyway. Battlefield Medicine is great, Plague Grenade is great, Blinding Gas is great. Incision is not bad. I don't know if I'd normally want to have Incision or Noxious Blast. Emboldening Vapors and Disorienting Blast are probably my least favorite. Characters are going to come in with a random starting assortment of 4 skills. One of them is guaranteed. I don't remember off the top of my head which it is actually for the Plague Doctor. It might be Plague Grenade, but like every Plague Doctor will always have a specific skill, and then the other 3 will be randomized. Likewise, camping skills, which aren't really going to come into play for a little while, will always start with 2 of the class-specific ones, in this case experimental vapors and leeches, and 1 general kind of talent camping skill that is shared amongst lots of classes. In this case, we get Pep Talk in order to reduce a little bit of stress damage. It's kind of fitting, actually, that she sort of shares steady with somebody. And then we meet Luciles. There's going to be a lot of foreign names to me here that I am not going to know how to pronounce, and I always appreciate when people leave me comments explaining how I'm supposed to be saying that.
A sister of battle, pious and unrelenting.
Now, our Seeker Vestal gains Natural Eye, which is good. Slow Draw is kind of bad. Curious is potentially very deadly, actually. She'll interact with things even without us wanting her to, and that can go poorly. She also doesn't really have my favorite composition of skills here. Illumination and Hand of Light are not particularly amazing. The Vestal is typically a backline healer. Unfortunately, she did not start with Divine Comfort. I think Divine Grace is the starting skill that they all come with. She does get Wound Care, Chant, and Pray as her starting camping skills, though. Those are none too bad. So that is going to become our starting party composition. Now, we are pretty handicapped here due to...
A mecca of madness and morbidity. Your work begins.
That was a lot of M's, the mecca of madness and morbidity. But we are a bit handicapped here due to Reynauld being paranoid with 100 stress starting out. There's nothing I can do to that now, and it adds a little bit of challenge. We're still very much in a tutorial section where the only real option we have is to head into the ruins. The Darkest Dungeon is available, but that's some suicide right there. So instead, we get a short scouting mission where we can gain a stun charm, 4 crests, and 3,000 gold for it. The starting party, if you load them up as expected, are the usual suspects. There are unique party names for certain compositions, and if you reorganize those 2, they become Red Hook, the developers. What do I actually want to do with them? I could probably get away without needing Incision, and the 3rd slot would allow her to use Illumination, so that might be worthwhile to actually use the Red Hook comp. However, we're not going to do that just yet. We're going to save that for the next episode. We'll talk a little bit about our party composition and some of their skills and everything before we head out there, but I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up now. I don't normally do this, but there is one thing I want to say before we finish, since this is the start of a new series of Darkest Dungeon and a good jumping on point. If you've been watching for a while, or even if you've just watched this very first episode and you enjoyed it, I would really appreciate you sharing it with your friends that you think might also be interested with this. You know, if you have been watching along for a long time and you've got a buddy somewhere that is into these kinds of games or into YouTube Let's Plays, you know, send them a text message. Say, hey, you should come over, check out Reddit Math. He's doing a thing here, and we'll continue to build the Red Estate and grow into something that I think is really special. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this episode. Feel free to subscribe if you enjoyed what you saw. For more episodes every single day, leave a like or a comment if you have anything to say about this or any of my other videos, and I will catch you guys next time.